only 15% of CEOs rate their marketing function and their CMO as doing a good job with AI. Gartner further says only 5% of marketing organizations are actually showing financial impact and progress with all the time and money and effort that they're spending around AI. So that's not good, right?
Okay, so the Open Garage podcast brings you monthly conversations with enterprise leaders and influencers who have both the authority and responsibility for making AI work at scale at work. Brought to you by Lanai and hosted by me, Lexi Reese, each episode reveals something about the systems, the tools, the processes, and the human decisions reshaping how the world's biggest companies actually operate. Real talk about what's working, what's failing, and what it takes to build workplaces where humans and AI collaborate effectively. 15 minutes that we hope change the way you think about AI at work. And today I am very pleased to bring my former colleague and dear friend, Jim Lecinski, for 15 minutes of jam time, Jim. So welcome to the Open Garage podcast.
Awesome. Lexi, great to see you and great to be here with you in the garage talking about AI and AI in marketing.
All right. So, Jim, if your life were a book, what's the title of the book and what are the major chapters so people know both what you've done, which is amazing, and also why you've done it?
I think the title of the book would be Helping Marketing Leaders Drive Profitable Incremental Growth for Their Brands. Stage one, chapter one would be how I learned to do that in the advertising industry, which I did that for 18 years and worked on a lot of great brands at a lot of great agencies. Chapter two was when we were together, the 13 years or so that I was at Google and helping lead that sort of digital transformation wave and the shift to mobile as well. And now chapter three is helping the next generation of marketing leaders understand the craft and understand the AI technology. And I do that currently as a marketing professor here at Northwestern University's Kellogg School of Management, just outside Chicago.
And you mentioned it, but maybe define for the audience who didn't get your perspective on Zero Moment of Truth, which you authored in 2011, I believe. And now you talk about the rise of zero click and AI first search. Defining Zero Moment of Truth and then going to, if you're a CMO building a business in 2026, what are the first 3 bets you'd make so your brand actually shows up in an AI-driven discovery journey?
Yeah, so Moments of Truth is a marketers convention popularized by the folks at Procter and Gamble, and sort of the idea is that path to purchase starts with a stimulus, an external stimulus or an internal stimulus, and for a long time, then you would go to what was called the first moment of truth. And the second moment of truth would be, am I happy with those car tires? And so it would go for every brand, but increasingly, even what we noticed in the early 2010s and continuing to today, as you point out, Lex, is those things happening prior to the first moment of truth. Thus, we coined the term zero moment of truth, first moment minus one. And so brands now need to show up in that as a new zero moment of truth. We call that the AI moment of truth. And so to answer your question then as to what do brands need to do, we need to think about, for example, do I have content on my site that is clearly answering the most frequently asked questions? There's sites out there like answerthepublic.com that can help me understand what are the questions that people are asking about my brands in these LLMs. And do I have content there in order to answer it? So some technical things, Lexi, as well as some content things.
It's been fascinating to me to build a brand from scratch in the AI era, right? And 80% of CEOs we talk to cannot tell you if or how AI is increasing revenue or lowering OpEx. In fact, most of them would say it's increasing OpEx and it's keeping revenue roughly the same. So when you wrote AI Marketing Canvas, I think that was in 2021, right?
Yeah, pre-ChatGPT.
pre-ChatGPT, or ChatGPT was around, but it wasn't like a word our grandmas used.
Correct.
You lay out a 5-stage roadmap for implementing AI in marketing. Now fast forward 2026, where do you see most large enterprises getting stuck on that journey? And what does it realistically take, whether it's people or budget or time, for them to move from cool experiments to real operating leverage?
Yeah, I mean, I would wholeheartedly agree with the premise of your question, Lexi. And it turns out that there's three, you call it, places where they get stuck. The first place is most CMOs don't come from a technical background. So 2/3 of marketers just don't really understand what this technology is capable of doing and don't have use cases as to where they want to apply it. Second is, to your point, they don't have a roadmap. 2/3 of marketers do not have a crawl, walk, run. And when it comes to actually implementation, is it any surprise, Lexi, when we don't have use cases, we don't have a roadmap, and the implementation plan is Copilot with an hour of prompt training, that we're only seeing 5% of brands with financial success and only 15% of CEOs are happy with us as an industry with our progress on AI. I mentioned Mondelez, I mentioned Colgate or Coca-Cola. And this often surprises everybody when I say, like, wow, these sort of typically traditional, maybe some people think of them as slow moving brands. But internally, Mondelez has rewired how their marketing team works. They have built 4 sets of brains, and they've talked publicly about this. They have a brand brain, a strategy brain, a distribution brain, right? And a sort of dashboard brain. And so they're not just sort of trying to slap AI onto old legacy processes and like hope that somehow it magically works. They're actually rewiring processes. And then I'll go to Colgate, and Clee Pappas is running the AI initiatives there. He's publicly said they've got 80% of marketers using AI on at least a weekly basis or more frequently. And importantly, Lexi, they have built AI customer personas, right? So that their brand marketers don't fall into that trap of thinking they are the target themselves. Now I can chat with my target audience, but every brand can be doing these things if Coke and Colgate and Oreo can do this.
I find that legacy brands are really disadvantaged for a couple reasons, but one of them is the lethargy that builds up of like it should be we are going to be customer first,
Yes.
and
Amen.
AI gives us the ability to get closer to the customer pretty much across the board. So maybe do you see that too, and how would you advise people to get use AI to get closer to the customer?
Yeah, I think that's right. Customer first, and also so there's not this disintermediation between brands and customers that you mentioned. And then the other thing is speed, right? Like why does it take us 11 months to write an annual plan? So if you think about like customer first and speed to decision, speed to market, AI can absolutely help us do that. And so now we start to think about like rewiring workflows, right? So what is it that we can now start? And, I often advise brands to say, start by getting started. There's probably 1,000 workflows in your marketing department. Let's pick three. Okay. I was talking earlier about personas and focus groups and market research. So if you're regularly talking to customers, then you end up with like big stacks of focus group transcripts that now humans have to go through, tag all of those, sort through, cluster them into piles or themes. Well, guess what? Turns out clustering and classification is something that not Gen AI, but old school ML, right? That can get us closer to the ground truth faster. And then what's the so what on that? That gets us faster to action. So I love, by the way, that you're putting a sharper point on this is not about like token maxing. No, success is like revenue, profit, share, like
Yeah.
new customers, new logos, assets under management. Like that's what we're here to do. Every brand that I've seen have success, Lexi, with AI and marketing, brings in someone that's called an AI marketing champion that's pretty quickly is able to then coalesce the team on feed your winners, starve your losers, right? Like the ones that are working are the ones that we quickly double down on. And if it's not showing signs of success, we want to pull back on those. And so it starts that way, but you can't have thousands and thousands of random pilots, as you well know, and I've talked about on this podcast, just running indefinitely.
Okay, so I've got one last question and then we move to the hot seat. So
Okay.
you have said it's still not too late to be early, which I totally agree with. For CEOs and CMOs listening who feel behind, and literally everyone I talk to feels behind, what are the one or two commitments that they can make this quarter, like actually getting out of their car? If they're listening to this in their car, they can get out and go to their teams and say, here's two commitments I want us to make that future teams will thank them for.
Right. So it's not too late to still be early. The second part of my quote, though, is, but the train is starting to pull away from the station, right? So, like, you don't have 2 years to sit on the sideline and then still somehow think that you're early. So, with that corollary to the quote, I would say two things. One is on a personal level, make sure that they're using these AI tools as a consumer, as a parent, as a neighbor, as a friend on a regular basis. Have you used Gemini Live to help you in the store make a buying or shopping decision? If you wanted to learn surfing, we wouldn't go to a surfing convention. We'd go someplace like San Diego or Florida and get in the water and get wet, right? You got to get on the surfboard. So commitment one is you got to put the stuff on your phone and use it to plan your weekend, to plan a hike, to plan a family vacation, to plan a grocery shopping trip, right? Like, have you bought a Starbucks coffee in ChatGPT? Like, you need to do this stuff. And then the second is, as particular for marketing, create synthetic personas of your target audience segments. Your teams can do this, have a little hackathon, 2 pizza lunch, 4 pizza lunch, using the in-house, like, right, Copilot Enterprise, Gemini Enterprise, ChatGPT or Claude Enterprise. You can build this, and then that's a proof of concept that starts to open eyes, the scales drop from the eyes, like, oh, wow, all right, so it's not just this sort of abstract thing. It does useful stuff. And then that leads to, okay, well, what other useful stuff could we have it do?
All right, Jim, ready for the hot seat.
I don't know if I'm ready, but let's do it.
What's one belief about success that you held early in your career that you now think was completely wrong?
Success went to the smartest person in the room with the single best idea, just because that person, like, solved the puzzle quickly and smarter than the rest of us. It's not just about being smartest and rightest and firstest. You have to build coalitions, you have to bring people along, you have to meet people where they are, you have to consider other points of view. And by the way, sometimes the best answer is not purely the best rational spreadsheet answer. Sometimes it's that combined with the best EQ answer. And that's something that I've come to learn and appreciate over time.
Thank you so much, Jim.
Thanks, Lexi. Great to be with you today.